You're listening to episode 196 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Shawn Wells. Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Hant, and I want to welcome you to Lifestyle Locker Radio. It is here where we talk all things lifestyle, from fitness to nutrition, peak performance to longevity, awesome relationships to inspirational stories. We take you on an amazing journey to all things life and lifestyle. Enjoy the ride. And for today's guest, if you want to learn more than they're going to tell you on this show, I urge you to scroll down, check out the show notes to get a detailed bio and everything you need to know about our guest today. We also encourage that you comment, review, and share this show if you are enjoying it from wherever and whenever you're listening. Lastly, we encourage you to check out all the links that we provide in the show notes. They are there for you, for your health, for your lifestyle. We ultimately want you to unleash your human potential. So dive into this episode. We'll see you on the inside. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lifestyle Locker Radio. We have another amazing guest today. We've got Shawn Wells. This guy is a wealth of information. He is a biohacker extraordinaire. He's world's best formulator when it comes to nutrition supplements. Tell me how many you got going on now?
I've formulated over 500.
500. So everyone, this is Shawn Wells. Thanks for being here.
You got it, brother.
Let's talk a little bit about biohacking. That term gets thrown around a lot in this world. It's been around, I'm not sure if it's a decade or whatever it may have been, but tell me what is biohacking?
Yeah, most simply, it's hacking your biology, right? So it's shortcuts to illicit performance. But originally it started out with very hardcore kind of stuff where people were putting magnets in their fingers, surgically so that they could interact with devices better. People were putting chips in their head, all kinds of stuff, different things in their eyes to interact with devices better. So it started out like a very hardcore niche community.
Okay.
Now biohacking means, MCTs in your coffee.
Yeah.
So it's
very big
a little different.
From RoboCop to like a nutrition fanatic.
Exactly. So it's a little broader now. And some people have a problem with the hacking thing. Hacking is bad, right? So some people are using optimization or whatever, but essentially it's all the same thing. It's trying to elicit greater human performance.
Okay, that's great. And in your experience, in your world experience, are there different areas that are starting to show up? Because I know you pay attention to the arena that you're in. Is it technology more? Is it supplementation more? Is it mindfulness? Is it where do we see people trying to hack and track their performance more? Or is it a combination?
I can tell you, as someone that's a huge fan of supplements and probably takes over 100 pills a day, it actually isn't as big as supplements are, and as big as these devices are, the cold plunges and the infrared saunas and these EEG devices or blue light blocking glasses, all these things. The number one thing right now to me is mindset.
Mindset. Okay.
It's mindset.
Very cool.
It's living with intention, living with purpose, mindfulness. The commonality of all the blue zones isn't the diet. It's the tribe. It's the connection. It's
right?
The communication. It's the therapy of sitting down with people for 3 hours and really opening up and having that deep connection that we're losing with all these devices. We're losing the ability to connect with ourselves because we're scared to actually have quiet time. So we don't have a proper conversation with ourselves. And then we're losing the ability to connect IRL with people, right? We don't know how to shake their hand anymore. We don't know how to hug them. We don't know how to have a deeper conversation, say, I love you. We don't know how to initiate a conversation. We just know how to interact with them through social media. And it's very interesting. And when you look at the blue zones, like in Korea, like in Sardinia, Italy, you see people that are less tech savvy that are living slower, less stressful lives, that are more active, doing movement, taking walks, and then certainly having like these 3-hour meals with fresh food, whole food. But whether it's high carb, low carb, or anything in between, that all varies. And whether they have red wine or not, that varies. Fatty fish or not, that varies. And some of those things are great, but to me, it's the tribe that's the biggest thing. And I think we're also seeing with these journals, these 5-minute journals and gratitude journals and these kind of things like that, we're seeing a return to try and speak to oneself on a better level, like to where you can organize your thoughts, you can put your thoughts in perspective, and you can start doing affirmations where you're having a positive conversation with yourself. Because if anyone talked to you like you talk to you, you wouldn't be their friend. We need to have a better conversation with ourselves. Our voice is the most important voice. So we need to improve the voice that's speaking to us. And we'll only be treated as well as we treat ourselves.
Yeah. So the self-talk is super powerful.
So if you find yourself getting treated like shit by all these people that are around you, it's because you allow that. It's because that's what you view yourself as. You say that's your net worth. So don't complain about all these, like externalize all your problems. You need to check yourself. You need to have a better conversation with yourself, because if you loved yourself, if you believed in yourself, you wouldn't allow that.
So tribe is huge. And I just had a conversation with someone earlier today about the blue zones, and we were talking about community and connection and the power of that, and how, and this is really neat the way the world works, that these conversations continue from the last person I spoke to you. And I didn't bring it up, which is great. But when it comes to, so we have the community, the group. So if that's number one, like having that human or this human connection is very powerful. What would you have as number two is like the next thing that someone would be able to leverage as far as biohacking or whatever we want to term it?
I'm going to start, like, it's crazy because I know like super technical stuff, but I would start, the foundation has to be the non-technical stuff that changes your life. Studies have shown if you choose happiness, you live 12 years longer.
Very cool. So it becomes,
how big a biohack is that?
Yeah.
How big is that?
Well, if you're happy, I mean, being happy in life is huge.
Right.
Being miserable sucks.
Right. So part of happiness is, this is my dog, by the way. Part of happiness is having an awesome dog.
Yeah.
But it's those relationships that we were just talking about. It's your tribe. But also another important part of that is purpose, right? Like fulfilling purpose, knowing your why. That's a massive one, is knowing what you should be doing with your life, what your DNA says is, this is Shawn's purpose in the world. It's to be the world's greatest formulator. It's to, on a recent plant medicine trip, I realized that I like 3 things, that like Shawn Wells is 3 things, creativity, connection, and teaching. And if it doesn't involve those 3 things, it's not a hell yes. And therefore I shouldn't be doing it.
That's huge. And I guess the question that people have to start asking is like, who are you and why are you here? Right.
Exactly.
That's a powerful and a very hard question, I think, for most people to ask and actually put it down on paper so you can see it and feel it and read it. And does it resonate?
And so that's another big part of the happiness, is chasing the hell yes, or chasing the things that light you up. But also the flip side of that is setting boundaries and saying no to the things that are draining you, to the things that don't light you up, to the things that you should either get rid of or delegate. You need to make a list of, do I need to keep this? Really? Does it light me up? Does it generate money for me? And if it's not doing those things, you need to get rid of it. And if it is necessary and it's creating money, but it doesn't light you up, delegate it.
Okay.
Find a way to delegate it. Stay with the things that get you excited.
And so, and then I guess is the word, the power in the word no as well.
100%.
Right. Like I think that's a big thing. We're always focusing on wanting to be, want to be super positive and do all of these things. But if you keep saying yes, if you're like that yes man, which I have definitely been in the past, and it can get overwhelming. And then we talk about the happiness factor starts to decrease, even if you're doing too much. And you said a magic word for me, which has been very powerful this year, is delegation in the world of technology. And I'm grateful for the team that I have been able to build and allow them to do some of the stuff that I may be good at, but it doesn't mean I need to do, because it drains me. So I'm very glad that you mentioned that, because the power of the word no, or the power of the word go, or here, can you help me with this, is it's so huge. And I love that you have your dog on the show, by the way. I'm a dog person. So
yeah. And so I think FOMO it can be deadly.
Yes.
Can be deadly. So we have too much clutter in our lives. We have too much fear of missing out. We have too much going on that we're just saying yes, and we're wanting what someone else has, instead of, who wants to be a shitty copy? Do you want to be like a bad version of The Rock?
Yeah.
No, you need to be Dr. Josh Hant.
Yeah.
That's who you need to be. You need to be the best version of you, and I'll be the best version of Shawn Wells.
Yeah.
And that's what we should be. Like, I shouldn't be a bad copy of someone else.
Yeah. Well, that's the best thing for the world, right? To be the best version of who we are truly destined to be.
Right.
But I think, like you said, we need to figure that out. And that's, like we talk about, like biohacking, right? This is crazy. If we don't know who we are and why we're here, we can become like a runner. We can become a cop. We can be whatever we want to do, or wherever the world tells us we should go. We could be successful in that. But if you're not happy in knowing who you really are, I think you're missing out on a lot. Really are.
Well, if you think about it, like, if you're not aligned and authentic, and you're just chasing after what you think is happiness and achievement, or what you think is happiness and trying to be someone else, or not really sure what your purpose is or what your why is, and you're going through life like this, then you're confused, and your body is going to have inflammation. Your body is going to be at a higher level of stress. You're going to be in a more sympathetic nervous system state. Mm-hmm. You're not relaxed in who you are. Like, and when you are relaxed in who you are, you can get into that flow state, that creative, mindful state, when you're like at your absolute best. And so, like, there's so much. It's not just like, oh, I'll be successful in business if I find out my why. I'll be happier if I find out my why. No, like, health wise, you'll be better off. You'll have lower inflammation, lower oxidation, lower glycation, less mitochondrial dysfunction, less biological aging, longer telomeres, on and on and on.
On and on. So with this conversation, so I know you mentioned a plant medicine trip you were just on. What are some maybe tools or things that people can think of, rather than just, who am I, why am I here? Are there certain strategies of things people can do to maybe help find their why, find their purpose?
Yeah, actually, Simon Sinek's book is a really good one. Start with your why.
Uh-huh.
I do recommend a 5-minute journal or gratitude journal every day. I think once you start writing and journaling your life, things become clearer. I do recommend a quadrant, and I forget the exact name of it, but I want to say it was actually started by a president like Roosevelt. But essentially, it's 4 squares, and it's what I'm talking about, like, what you should keep, what you should put on hold, what you should delegate, and what you should get rid of. And essentially, it's the idea of, like, the things that light you up versus the things that aren't, things that are generating money, and things that aren't, and then the things that are just out and out draining you. You just need to be mindful of those. Make a list of those things. I mean, it can just be a simple list, and now you're aware. And it's not just business stuff. It's like including things like, I love sand volleyball, so I'm going to make that a priority. Craig Ballantyne's book, The Perfect Day Formula, is
Okay.
amazing. Amazing at like creating non-negotiables of like, say, time with your family for dinner, workouts at the gym, things like the sand volleyball that you get joy from. And you have to plan your life around the things that are important and create joy and create connection. And then you put in, here's my blocks for work and all these different things.
Yeah.
And create non-negotiable times that I am doing this. And then maybe there's a creative writing time or journaling time or your morning routine time. Those are so important. So like you create those blocks in your schedule and you work around those blocks instead of replacing those and putting those important things off, like your family, like your self-care. You can't put that stuff off. It's not healthy.
Yeah. Do you think that starting like your morning off, having like specific types of routines really helps set that tone for the day?
1,000%. Like it
Okay.
literally, if you read Tim Ferriss's Tools of Titans, he talks about that there's two common threads with super successful people, be it, entrepreneurs or Josh Waitzkin, like the chess player, whoever these people are that are successful at whatever their craft is. They have two things in common. One, a solid morning routine. Two, they view everything as experiments. They don't think of things as potentially failure. Yeah. And like, if you like hear Thomas Edison, like talk about, his experiments, like, and they said, oh, it's like you failed, like you didn't find anything. He's like, no, and now I know what it's not.
Yeah. So it's you're succeeding or you're learning.
Exactly. Yeah. So again, so that's mindset. And then, and then setting the tone for your day. If you have a great morning routine, let's say, it doesn't have to be time consuming. Yeah. Like Ben Greenfield's morning routine is probably like 3 hours, but like, let's say it's just 30 minutes, just get up a little earlier and do some deep breathing. Like before you get out of bed, just some deep breathing, just 30 seconds, a minute, and then take a minute or two to stretch. Okay. Maybe if it's dark out when you get up, get some kind of blue light exposure while you're listening to a podcast or, reading a book or walking your dog. Like you can get like the human charger that goes in your ears, like while you're walking your dog. And then now you've woken up with some blue light. You've started your circadian rhythm. You're connecting with your dog or your spouse, and you're getting some movement in. You've done some deep breathing. You do that 5-minute journal. Okay, so what does this all add up to? 30 minutes? Like, that's too much? And like, if you start your day that way with proper self-care, and you started in that parasympathetic state, that rest and digest state that the autonomic nervous system needs balance of, was we're often in the fight or flight sympathetic nervous system state, which is fine in balance when it's in check. But like when we're skewed out of control towards sympathetic nervous system, it's just not healthy.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
So if we instead of like, oh my God, okay, like I got 10 minutes to get ready, like let me get the coffee, a Danish, and or whatever, a Monster, and I'll jump in the car, and I'm running late, and it's like I'm weaving through traffic, and then you get to work and you got 100 emails, and someone's like, the boss is pissed off about this, fire. That's your day. If you just take 30 minutes and you start the day the way I'm saying, even if that other stuff happens, you set a pace for success. You've already made it. You're already successful. And like Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Work Week talks about that before you even check your email when you get to work, you do 2 hours of something really productive. You knock out a project, then check your email at about 10 o'clock. And he only recommends you check it twice a day, by the way, instead of getting push notifications that make you really unproductive.
Yeah, put your phone on airplane mode or put the notifications off and check it periodically. I agree.
So let's say you have this morning routine where you've knocked it out. Then you have this 2-hour project time where you've knocked that out. And now you're getting into your emails. Now you're like letting the day, your work day happen. You're going to feel way more successful, way more in control.
Yeah. And
than
accomplished because you're
otherwise.
doing stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And there's a great book that with morning, Hal Elrod, The Miracle Morning. Have you heard of it?
Okay. No.
Yeah, it's a great, it's like, it's a thin, easy, like a 1-day read type of book, but he talks about, I can't remember the acronym, but it's similar to what you're talking about, is how to start your morning. It's like journaling and meditation and just some movement. It doesn't need, and it could be, he says like a 6-minute version, and you can make it as long as you want, just so you have that kickstart that allows you to go. But that's powerful. And what are your favorite morning routines?
Basically the stuff I was listing. I do like walking the dog. I do like breathing and a little bit of stretching. I do the blue light device, like the Philips Go light, if it's dark, especially in winter, or the human charger. I do listen to podcasts on the way to the gym. And then when I'm at the gym, obviously I'm doing a workout there. And then I do like some contrasting after my workout with either the sauna and a cold plunge, or just contrasting in the shower with hot to cold, hot to cold, hot to cold. And then sometimes I fast all the way through lunch, but sometimes I have bacon, eggs, and butter for my breakfast after my workout. Or sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I'll just get a whey protein shake. But that's my morning.
That's it. That's great. So for the analytical people that could be listening, like myself, what are there, because I know technology is not necessarily maybe even the biohack, but there are ways to track and measure things. Are there certain technologies that you would recommend so people can start to maybe validate some of the thoughts that are happening, like whether it's heart rate variability or heart rate or whatever it may be?
Yeah, I think heart rate variability is becoming a big one that makes sense to look at. You're seeing, again, with that kind of sympathetic nervous system overuse, and whether it's under-rested, undernourished, overtrained, overstressed, we're seeing that come through with heart rate variability, and it tells you like where you're at in terms of readiness for an event, for your day, or for performance or whatever. So you're getting a better sense of that in the moment. I also think longer term, there's a couple labs that really could be game changers. I really believe we could reshape medicine if we were looking at these every 6 months or so. If we were looking at hemoglobin A1C for blood glucose, it's a longer term indicator. And we were looking at CRP, C-reactive protein, for inflammation. Yeah. So inflammation and glycation are massive parts of mitochondrial dysfunction, of biological aging, and pretty much all chronic disease risk. So just looking at those couple labs that are fairly cheap, let's say it's $100 every, twice a year, I could tell you you're biologically aging faster than your chronological age. I could tell you that your disease risk for cancer, Alzheimer's, coronary heart disease, etc., is elevated. So it's frustrating to me that we don't look at these things, but those would be good to look at.
Those would be good. Okay, so that's like a bi-yearly checkup, if you will, and don't need to be an expert. You can look up how to actually read the test, right? I mean, you could have a functional medicine doctor or someone look at it as well, but you can also pay attention, right? That's the biggest thing, is becoming aware of what's going on in your life, and as someone like yourself that has probably tested most technologies and all of these things, I think awareness is the first key. If you can track and you're actually aware and able to make changes, you're in control of your own life. If you're just waiting for the next medication to come down the line because you're obese or because you had a heart attack, and you're not fixing the actual lifestyle factors, you're not changing your morning, we're losing the battle.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
So this is interesting. So as far as performance, I want to get a little bit into some of the nutrition, some of the supplementation, some of the things that we may not know may be beneficial to us. But we have our audience is a lot of all different types of athletic people, active lifestyle people, if you will. But for me, as an endurance runner, someone that like in peak season will be running upwards of 100 miles, sometimes more in a week. We talk about the tax on the body, of the physical taxation on the body. I personally, I'm a huge meditator. I become an insanely clean eater innately. Like I don't even decide, oh, I should eat more vegetables or I should do X, Y, Z. I start craving all of these things. But as far as supplementation, like what are things that maybe an endurance athlete, whether you're a half marathoner or a marathoner, things that people can do or take, like on a regular basis that's going to help them, perform just better?
Yep. So going back to, for me, mitochondrial function or dysfunction is super important. Basically, it's the source of all your cellular energy, ATP, adenosine triphosphate. You might remember that from biology, but we can get into insufficient cellular energy states, ICE. And what happens is when your mitochondria aren't making enough energy chronically, you get glycation, inflammation, oxidation. And again, it's pro-aging and put you at risk for all these disease states. So it's important that we, one, address inflammation, oxidation, glycation. I think with glycation, my favorite ingredient that even bests the drug metformin is berberine.
What is
berberine?
it? Berberine. Okay.
Yep. That's the one. And then there's a new active metabolite that I've patented called dihydroberberine. But berberine or dihydroberberine are immensely powerful for reducing blood sugar, improving insulin sensitivity, reducing triglycerides and some degree of inflammation. And I think it's the most important ingredient that anyone should take for their health and anti-aging. After that, for inflammation, I would look at CBD and curcumin. A bioavailability enhanced curcumin like Mariva or curcumin would work well. And then CBD, I like a synthetic or pure CBD or CBD isolate. I don't actually like the natural forms or like the lower percentage forms because it's just an inconsistent experience. So I like getting kind of a pharmaceutical grade CBD.
Interesting.
And I prefer like a much higher dose, especially when I'm going to bed, like 100 to 150 milligrams actually. So, and then for oxidation, whether your diet does this or you can get it through supplements, just having things like blueberries or pterostilbene, green tea or EGCG, the active from that, red wine in small amounts, or resveratrol. But getting some of these really potent antioxidants, I think, is helpful. Liposomal vitamin C, so you can take higher doses and use more of it.
So explain what that means for the audience. Liposomal vitamin C.
It's a bioavailability enhanced. A liposome like wraps around the ascorbic acid, the vitamin C, to help with its delivery, uptake, utilization. Ascorbic acid is acidic. Vitamin C is acidic, and you end up getting GI distress in higher doses and diarrhea. So one of the things that this will help with is reduce the GI distress and allow for more of it to be used by your body. Typically, you can only get like high doses that are really moving the needle in terms of mitochondrial function and cellular autophagy and some of these things at like really high doses IV, like 5 to 25 grams.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So liposomal allows you to kind of crank that up a little bit and not have the GI distress.
Okay, interesting.
So after that, I think D3, K2, vitamin D3. Not only is it for bones, but it's so much more. It's actually a hormone and not just a vitamin. And we're seeing that, especially if you don't get enough sunshine, which has been shown recently, if you're not getting enough sunshine, you're actually shortening your life by 2 years. So don't believe the sunshine haters. But you need this D3 hormone for estrogen, testosterone, for to be anti-obesity, anti-depression, obviously bone health, but muscle health. We're just finding it does so much that it's important that you take care of it. And also having K2, a special form of vitamin K with vitamin D3, will enhance its function. So getting those. I believe that for cellular energy, again, going back to that and ketones, getting like exogenous ketones or C8 MCTs, caprylic acid MCTs, is really effective for your energy. I think those would be creatine is one that protects the brain as well as improves muscle strength and power output. And fish oil, high DHA fish oil for the brain, I think is important. Maybe my last one would be an optimized form of choline, which if you're a vegan, or even if you are non-vegan and you don't eat eggs, you're not getting enough choline. So your brain needs choline, especially to make acetylcholine, the neurotransmitter, but also for the brain itself. It's made of phospholipids. You need to get a good form of choline. So CDP choline or alpha GPC are the two best for protecting the brain and enhancing brain function.
So the long and the short, we have things that are going to increase mitochondrial function, which does a lot, right? So we energy booster, a deflamer, stuff that's going to deflame us, and stuff that's going to turn the brain back on. Those are the most powerful things. Getting
back to the mitochondria itself, taking PQQ and CoQ10 and possibly NMN. I know that's a bunch of letters, but those all could help. If you're doing IVs, NAD could be helpful with that cellular energy, but possibly some of the sublingual NADs, or I think that most interesting to me is the intranasal NAD could be really good, but there's not a lot of data yet.
Okay. So if I'm out on a run, I'm 30 miles into a 100-mile run. If my wife is my crew and she's giving me some electrolytes, and usually I have some supplementation in there, would there be like 2 or 3 specific things that I could just throw my hand and down? Like I'll tell you, I've used turmeric, I've used CBD during runs, usually like 30 to 50 milligrams of CBD at a clip. What else did we have in there? Vitamin D is in there. I think that's, and a trace minerals that we had in there as well. But anything else like specific that I can on the go would be good?
I think sodium is one of the most important. That it's like the key electrolyte for sure, but like 85 to 90% of what's lost in sweat is sodium as far as minerals. So yes, there's the other electrolytes, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, but sodium's just massive. Just get some salt in.
Yeah, we're loading up with pickle juice the whole time.
Exactly. So. That's great. And then, getting some kind of fuel substrate could be helpful. Like, I don't know whether you're fat adapted, but, having either ketones or glucose or ketones and glucose could be good, or like some super starch, like palatinose or some of these unique starches are kind of interesting.
Well, as far as exogenous ketones, just a question on that. I've used them in the past, not necessarily for for running, I've used them when I've done overnight events, like 50-mile military rucks. Like I use them like late at night because I usually have ones with caffeine in them. Is there a downfall for having them consistently, like on a very regular basis? Like, should you be cycling them in and out of your life?
It's an interesting question. There's not a lot of data on that. I get the logic on if you're taking something exogenously, it could impair endogenous production. Like if you were taking testosterone injections, your body's going to stop making as much. But there's some flip sides to that too, in that one, like the deeper you are in ketosis, the more experiential it is in terms of reducing appetite, improving mental clarity, these kinds of things. So even if you're in ketosis, getting in that deeper state will help your performance. Okay. Two, being in a higher state of ketosis will also upregulate MCT transporters so that you can use ketones better. So that can be helpful. And some people make the mistake of chasing blood ketones, plasma ketones. And that doesn't necessarily make sense either. It's not like we're chasing blood sugar. Like if you're, glucogenic, like you're not like, oh, I got a 400, a 500, a 600. Like no one's doing that, right? It's about insulin sensitivity and actually using the glucose. So the more efficient you are at using it over time, the more sensitive you are, the lower it actually is. So over time, your blood BHB, your plasma ketones should be going down because you're using them, especially around exercise. If they're somehow staying high, then you're not efficient at using them.
Got it. Okay. All right. I've never done a race fully fat adapted. I tend up having, I'll go into a run or a race, I've not measured in ketosis, but I'm on a pretty high fat ketogenic style diet, less than 100 grams, probably less than 50 grams of carbs a day. But I end up craving, like I crave carbs, obviously when I was running. So I would have food-based stuff like a bean burrito or something as I was running, because it's what I craved. But I never bonked, and I'm not sure if that has to do with my pre or, the fuel that I'm adding again.
Yeah, it sounds like you're fat adapted. And I think that whole idea of like train low, compete high thing is okay. And it sounds like what you're doing. So that's where you're like, for example, with me, when I go to the gym, I'm training fasted. I don't care if like I lift 300 pounds or 400 pounds or whatever. It's just like, I want it to feel heavy to my body, and I want to, accomplish something and neurologically connect to my muscles and all that. But like if I'm playing sand volleyball and I just want to be at my peak, I do targeted ketogenic dieting where I have carbs, like simple sugars like Gatorade or gummy bears or whatever around my performance, and I just feel better and do better. So I'm getting the benefit of being fat adapted, but I'm also having some carbs in that situation.
Yeah.
But so it's that train low, compete high thing.
Okay. Oh yeah. So I guess that's what I mostly do most of the time, not all the time, but all right. What else can we ask here? Well, actually, I actually want to finish with this question, because we've gone and we went where I didn't even think we would go, which is so great in the beginning. I think that's very powerful information when it comes to being the best version of yourself, and in our term, unleashing your human potential and peak performance, all those words. But what I'd love to finish with is something just very simple, because you can list, we can go over like 500 different types of supplements with people and their heads will explode. Mine first. But I think the power is in the action step. And when we were talking before we started recording, the last question I'm going to ask you is this, is if you were to tell someone to do three specific things, just three specific things that they can take action right now so they can have a better day today and tomorrow, what would you tell them? Three things. I know you got a lot in that head.
Wow. Yeah. There's so many things. One, I think I would say you're a product of the 5 people around you. So choose those 5 people with great intention. you need to get rid of some of those people that are close to you right now because they're not doing a service to you. You need to become skilled at not only being mentored, but mentoring. So you need to give, and you need to listen, and you need to be actively involved with those 5 people. Each of those 5 people that are closest to you should have skills that you want to emulate. So you need to consciously choose those people, not just have them be in your family, not just be neighbors or coworkers that just are there. Consciously choose your 5. I think next thing is do a gratitude journal. I think just getting in touch with yourself, doing some creative writing, thinking through all the things that you're thankful for and how much amazingness there actually is in your life will help you with perspective, help you gain joy in your life, and just reframe. That's a really important part of success, is reframing. And then I would say it's important to get outside, get sunshine, get fresh air, to take your shoes off, to ground, and just enjoy the world outside. We've created a very weird artificial world that we are now making be the real world and making it seem weird to be out in the actual real world. It's a bizarre existence. It's a bizarre, like we have a carpet and we have our walls and we have artificial light and artificial recycled air and all this stuff. And it's like, somehow that seems more normal.
Yeah, it's weird. Nature, definitely connecting with nature. I think that's huge. It's so simple. So simple. Add that to your morning, everybody. Walk outside with no shoes on.
Mm-hmm. And what I'm suggesting here costs you $0. All of it. Just choose wisely who you put around you. Choose happiness. Try and dig into your purpose. Get sunshine. Get fresh air. Do some grounding. Start writing. Listen to some podcasts. Do journaling. Start working on positive self-talk. Those are pretty simple. And then the biggest one nutritionally, like I can talk to you about keto and carnivore and all those things, is eating whole foods.
Real food.
It can be vegan, it can be carnivore, or anything in between. I think both can be super healthy if well constructed. But the key is with all of it is whole food. And what's changed recently is things being GMO, antibiotics, bovine growth hormone, bovine steroids, artificial flavors, colors, sweeteners, and the whole thing, like it's all this stuff that's going on in these high bliss point, ultra processed foods that make you overeat and make you sick that are a problem. And it's never been a problem whether we eat all meat or we eat all vegetables or a mix. It's not a problem as long as they're whole foods that are as fresh as possible from a good source.
Awesome. So Shawn, this has been a phenomenal conversation. I'm sure we can talk about a lot. So everyone, I want you to head over to lifestylelocker.com/Shawn Wells. Again, lifestylelocker.com/Shawn Wells. And we're going to connect you with him with all his details. His website is really awesome. I love his little section on biohacking. And I think you can scroll and click on all the body parts and all the crazy things that have happened in his life that he's been taking care of. So please check him out. I urge you to do so, because if you got something from this show, you're going to get even more when you do connect with him. So Shawn, man, I want to thank you. This has been fantastic. Great to connect.
Thanks, brother. Everyone can check me out at ZoneHalo, ZoneHalo on Instagram. And I love the conversation. I'd love to come back anytime. So thanks for having me on, Josh.
You're welcome.